A longtime A&E star has died. Daryl Sheets, who starred on Storage Wars from 2010 to 2023, was found dead at a residence in Lake Havasu City, Arizona around 2 a.m. April 22nd.
Some Storage Wars stars walked away from the auction floor and moved on. Others faced terrifying medical emergencies, while a few never got the chance to make a comeback. Behind the wild bids and surprising locker finds are heartbreaking stories longtime fans may have missed. One cast member died at just 40, while another battled a deadly illness in his final months. So, who from Storage Wars has passed away, who survived a close call, and where are the remaining cast members in 2026? Daryl Sheets. Daryl Sheets earned the nickname The Gambler because he was willing to spend big money on lockers other buyers considered too risky. Sometimes those gambles paid off. His most famous discovery was artwork by Frank Gutierrez, reportedly valued at around $300,000. But Daryl faced a much bigger gamble with his own health in 2019. While attending a Justin Bieber concert with his family, he suddenly suffered a heart attack. Before doctors could fully stabilize Daryl, he had another heart attack. At the hospital, doctors said he had serious heart issues and badly blocked arteries. They placed stents so blood could move again and to help save his life, basically. Later, Daryl admitted he'd had chest pain for months before the emergency, but he ignored the warning signs, the whole thing. After that, he shifted how he lived. He stepped back from regular television appearances, and he leaned harder into his health recovery, also making room for more time with his family. Think surviving 2 heart attacks is shocking? The next story takes a very different turn. Hester. Dave Hester became one of the most recognizable people on Storage Wars thanks to his loud bidding style and famous "Yup" catchphrase. He played the villain well, regularly pushing prices higher and clashing with competing buyers. His relationship with the show changed dramatically in 2012. Dave sued A&E and the production company, claiming valuable items had been planted inside lockers and that certain cast members sometimes knew what was inside. The legal battle got really costly. In that stretch, Dave's auction business kind of wobbled around. Debts started piling up, and in the end, the business shut down. Later on, the lawsuit was settled, but the final bits stayed private, so people didn't really get the full picture. Then, November 2018 came around and Dave suffered a stroke. It impacted his ability to speak clearly, which was extra tough for someone known for his booming voice. Therapy did help him back to speaking more, but his voice and that well-known catchphrase of his took a hit after the whole medical emergency. Balelo. Balelo stood out on Storage Wars because he never looked like the average storage buyer. He arrived at auctions wearing designer suits and shiny shoes, earning the nickname Rico Suave. Away from the cameras, he ran Balelo Incorporated in Simi Valley, selling items he picked up from auctions. But Mark was also dealing with serious personal problems. He had struggled with use, and the pressure that came with television fame appeared alongside those troubles. On February 9, 2013, police in Ventura County arrested Mark possession. He was released on bail shortly afterward. Then, on February 11th, his girlfriend found him inside his car, which was running in a closed garage at his business. Mark died from carbon monoxide poisoning at only 40 years old. His death was ruled self-inflicted. His business closed afterward, leaving employees shocked by the sudden loss. Gunter Nezhoda. Gunter Nezhoda had been involved in storage auctions around California long before appearing on Storage Wars. When he eventually joined his son Renee on television, their father and son relationship quickly became part of what made their appearances memorable. Gunter had smoked cigarettes for roughly 30 years. Late in 2022, he began feeling weak and short of breath. His coughing became worse, and he also started losing weight rapidly. Eventually, the doctors decided it was stage 4 lung cancer. But by then, the illness had already spread through his body, so the doctors had not many treatment options left. So Gunter chose to just spend what time remained at home, near his family, as that felt right somehow. His condition got worse over about 6 months. On March 21st, 2023, Gunter died in his sleep at 67 years old. Renee later talked about how rough those last months were for their family, and he thanked the fans for sticking with them after his father's death. Weiss. Barry Weiss was already financially successful long before Storage Wars, having made his money in the produce business. Unlike many of the other buyers, Barry was never obsessed with squeezing every dollar out of a locker. For him, the real appeal was the thrill of the hunt and the possibility of uncovering something strange, rare, or completely unexpected. Outside the auctions, Barry was equally passionate about unusual vehicles, especially classic cars and vintage motorcycles. He had been riding motorcycles since he was 16, which made what happened in 2019 especially shocking. In April of that year, Barry was seriously injured after a car pulled out in front of his motorcycle. He suffered crushed ribs, broken legs, and internal injuries. Doctors reportedly operated for 9 hours and placed him in a coma for about a week. After months of rehabilitation, Barry recovered and eventually returned to Storage Wars in 2021. Barry Weiss's friend, Jamie Robinson. Barry Weiss wasn't the only person seriously injured in the April 2019 motorcycle crash. His friend, Jamie Robinson, was riding with him when the accident happened, and he also suffered significant injuries that required medical attention. Because Barry was already a well-known Storage Wars personality, most of the early coverage naturally focused on his condition and recovery. That meant Robinson's experience received far less public attention, even though he was caught in the same frightening accident. Both men were riding motorcycles in Los Angeles when a car reportedly pulled out in front of them, leaving little time to react. They were taken to the hospital after the collision. Barry's injuries were especially severe and led to a long rehabilitation process, but Robinson was also affected by the crash. The accident became one of the most serious incidents connected to Barry's life away from television and reminded fans just how dangerous the situation had been. False death rumors about living cast members. Several Storage Wars cast members have been wrongly reported dead after surviving serious health scares. Dave Hester faced false claims following his 2018 stroke, while Barry Weiss was mistakenly reported dead after his serious motorcycle crash in 2019. Dan Dodson also became the subject of death rumors after surviving a double brain aneurysm in 2014. Although he recovered and eventually returned to the auction business, misleading reports continued circulating online. Daryl Sheets was once included in similar false rumors after surviving a major heart attack in 2019. However, his situation is now different. Sheets actually died on April 22, 2026, at age 67. Therefore, he should no longer be included among living cast members who were falsely reported dead. Cast members still alive. Despite the many death rumors surrounding Storage Wars, many familiar cast members are still alive. Several have continued working in storage auctions, antiques, thrift stores, or other businesses connected to the show. Brandy Pasante and Jarrod Schulz moved on separately after ending their long relationship. Ivy Calvin remained active in California storage auctions, while Renee Nezhoda continued the family business after losing his father, Gunter. Kenny Crossley also stayed in the loop with auctions, while Mary Padian kept buying, fixing up, and moving vintage items along. Dan and Laura Dodson kept on working side by side in the auction business, even after Dan got through his serious brain aneurysm, so yeah, it wasn't just a pause. Only a small handful of cast members have actually passed away. Mark Balelo died in 2013, Morris Mo Prigoff died in 2021, and Gunter Nezhoda died in 2023. The rest made it through major health scares, though, despite those weird false reports online saying the opposite, kinda like rumors that wouldn't quit. Brandy Pasante. Brandy Pasante became one of the most recognizable faces on Storage Wars, alongside her longtime partner, Jarrod Schulz. Together, they were known as the Young Guns, bringing a mix of competitive bidding, sharp arguments, and personal drama to nearly every auction they attended. Viewers watched Brandy and Jarrod take chances on abandoned lockers, debate whether risky purchases were worth the money, and manage their resale business as a team. Their relationship became such a major part of the series that many fans followed their personal lives just as closely as their auction wins and losses. However, their partnership eventually came to an end. After more than a decade together, Brandy and Jarrod separated in 2018 and began moving forward independently. They later appeared on Storage Wars separately, rather than as the familiar couple fans once knew. Brandy is still alive and remains one of the franchise's most recognizable personalities, continuing her life beyond both the show and her former relationship with Jarrod. What looked like harmless on-screen bickering eventually became something much more troubling after their relationship ended. Jarrod Schulz. Jarrod Schulz became well known on Storage Wars alongside Brandy Pasante. The two were called the Young Guns and quickly became one of the show's most recognizable pairs because of their different personalities and competitive bidding style. For years, Jarrod and Brandy bought storage lockers together, hoping to find valuable items they could resell. Their arguments, risky purchases, and business decisions became a regular part of the show. Their long relationship kind of finally ran out, and the couple broke apart in 2018. After that breakup, they went on with their lives on their own, not really showing up as the same unit fans had known for years, if that makes sense. Jarrod later had some legal trouble in 2021 after that incident that involved Brandy. Even with all the rumors floating around about multiple former cast members, Jarrod is still alive. His whole story after Storage Wars has leaned more toward the split, the legal stuff, and everything he did away from their well-known partnership. Ivy Calvin. Ivy Calvin joined Storage Wars in Season 4 and quickly became known as the King of Palmdale. His competitive attitude and strong presence made him stand out whenever bidding became intense. Before becoming a regular buyer on the show, Ivy had an athletic background. He brought that same focused mindset into storage auctions, looking for lockers filled with items he could resell for a profit. Even when he was no longer constantly seen on television, Ivy stayed connected to the business. He continued running his shop and taking part in storage auctions around Southern California. Ivy is still alive and remains one of the familiar Storage Wars personalities who continued working after the show slowed down. Unlike Mark Balelo, Morris Mo Prigoff, and Gunter Nezhoda, Ivy was not among the cast members who passed away. Renee Nezhoda. Renee Nezhoda became a familiar Storage Wars buyer alongside his wife, Casey. His storage knowledge and energetic personality helped make the couple regular faces within the auction world. His father, Gunter Nezhoda, also appeared on the show. Their father and son moments gave viewers a more personal look at the family behind the business, especially because Gunter had been involved with storage auctions long before appearing on television. Renee went through a big personal hit when Gunter got diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. It was kind of a long and messy time, especially over those last 6 months. Gunter passed away in March 2023, age 67. After that, Renee later told viewers he really appreciated the support for his family during the loss, Renee kept going with the family storage business afterward. He and Casey ran the Bargain Hunter thrift store in Poway, California, but they still stayed connected with auctions and Storage Wars-type events. On top of that, he kept honoring his father's memory with his online presence, kinda maintaining that thread. Casey Nezhoda. Casey Nezhoda became part of Storage Wars alongside her husband, Renee Nezhoda. Together, they brought their real experience as thrift store owners and storage buyers into the television series. Their business was not something created only for television. Renee and Casey operated Bargain Hunter Thrift Store in Poway, California, where items discovered through auctions could be evaluated and resold. The Nezhoda family experienced a painful loss in 2023 when Renee's father, Gunter, died from stage 4 lung cancer. Gunter had also appeared on Storage Wars, giving the family an even stronger connection to the series. Casey continued working with Renee after Gunter's death, keeping their business active and remaining connected to the storage auction community. She is not among the confirmed cast members who died. Instead, she and Renee continued the family business while keeping Gunter's memory connected to their work and their ongoing involvement with fans. Kenny Crossley. Kenny Crossley joined Storage Wars after many of the original cast members, but his personality quickly made him a familiar face among the competitive buyers. Like the others, Kenny searched around abandoned storage lockers, hoping to come up with valuable stuff that seemed worth more than what he paid. Every auction was kinda like another bet, because buyers never really knew what was tucked in there. Even after his TV appearances started to fade, Kenny stayed tied into the storage auction scene. He kept showing up at auctions across California and also ran his own little operation. Kenny is still alive and remains active in the auction world too. And unlike a few former cast members who passed away, his story carried on way past his time on Storage Wars, even after everything settled down. Mary Padian. Mary Padian earned the nickname the Junkster because she had a talent for finding value in things other people might throw away. Her eye for unusual pieces made her a natural fit for the storage auction world. Before becoming widely known through the franchise, Mary worked closely with Morris "Mo" Prigoff on Storage Wars, Texas. The pair shared an interest in antiques, forgotten objects, and turning overlooked finds into valuable pieces. Mary continued that passion through her antiques business, restoring and selling vintage items through Mary's finds. Her work allowed her to remain connected to the same treasure-hunting spirit viewers saw on television. Mo's death in March 2021 marked the loss of someone closely tied to Mary's early Storage Wars story. Mary herself remained alive and continued sharing her work online. She is another example of a cast member whose career carried on after her regular television appearances became less frequent. Laura Dodson. Laura Dodson became a familiar face on Storage Wars alongside her husband, Dan. Together, they handled many California auctions, with Dan's rapid calls matched by Laura's calmer style. In June 2014, Laura woke up in the middle of the night and sort of noticed Dan was breathing oddly, like not right, and he wouldn't respond. She called 911 right away. The doctors later said Dan had a double brain aneurysm with 2 blood vessels actually bursting inside his brain. Emergency surgery did manage to save his life, but it was close. Laura stayed right there beside him throughout the rough recuperation period. Over time, Dan got back to auction work, and honestly, the two of them kept working together, day after day. Even with later rumors floating around about Dan having died, they both lived, and they kept being active in the auction world. Morris "Mo" Prigoff. Morris "Mo" Prigoff became a familiar face on Storage Wars, Texas after the series began in 2011. Unlike many storage hunters, auctions were not his main career. Mo had already spent around 4 decades working as a podiatrist in Dallas before television came along. His real passion outside medicine was antiques and history. He owned River Regency, where he displayed unusual pieces discovered inside abandoned storage units. Instead of quickly selling everything, Mo liked learning about the items and finding buyers who appreciated them. He also worked closely with Mary Padian. Their partnership became memorable because they could take things others considered junk and find new value in them. Fans liked Mo's colorful personality, clothing, and friendly nature. His health began declining later in life, although his family did not publicly explain the illness. Mo died on March 4, 2021, at age 78. But Mo's story wasn't the only one that ended, or nearly ended, in tragedy. What happened to the next Storage Wars star was so sudden, his wife barely had time to react. Dan Dodson. Dan Dodson and his wife Laura became familiar faces on Storage Wars, handling many California auctions. Dan was known for his lightning-fast auction calls, while Laura brought a calmer style to their partnership. In June 2014, Dan went to bed feeling completely normal, like nothing was off. During the night, Laura noticed his breathing had turned shallow, and he wouldn't answer. She quickly called for help, and within moments, people were there. Doctors said Dan had suffered a double brain aneurysm, which meant dangerous bleeding plus pressure building inside his brain. The emergency surgery saved his life, but recovery wasn't simple. Dan had to rebuild basic skills, relearning even how to speak and how to think in a fast, practical way. Later, there were rumors he died, but that wasn't true. Dan made it through. Eventually, he was back to running auctions with Laura again, step by step, day by day. The Storage Wars cast has seen unforgettable wins, painful losses, and frightening close calls over the years. While some familiar faces are sadly gone, others continue their lives far beyond the auction floor. Which cast member's story surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed this update, hit the like button and subscribe for more stories like this. And before you go, watch the next video shown on your screen. You won't want to miss what we uncover next.